The Great Emu War. Hey everyone. Imagine a war where one side was a flock of large flightless birds and the other was the military. Sounds wild, right? Well, that's exactly what happened back in 1932 in Australia. This bizarre episode in history is known as the Great Emu War, and it pits Australian soldiers against the surprisingly wily emus. This isn't your typical war story, but it's one that has captured imaginations worldwide. Today, we're diving into the details of this unusual conflict to uncover the true events and why it all happened. The backdrop was the difficult life in Australia during the 1930s, a time when many World War I veterans found themselves back home and stuck in a struggle. These veterans had been granted farmland in Western Australia as a way to start anew and improve the economy. However, the land was harsh and the Great Depression was hitting hard. Just as they were trying to make ends meet, an unexpected challenger arrived: Demas. Thousands of these large birds, driven by their instinctive migration, descended upon the farmland. The sheer number of them spelled disaster for farmers' crops, which were already on the verge of destruction. As emus trampled crops and consumed what little wheat was left, the farmers felt overwhelmed and needed help against this feathered foe. This set the stage for a very unusual military operation. Faced with this feathery invasion, the farmers, many of whom were frustrated ex-soldiers, called on the government for help. They desperately needed assistance to control the emu population and save their livelihoods. The government stepped up, suggesting the use of the army. Enter Major G.P.W. Meredith and his soldiers, armed with Lewis machine guns equipment usually meant for war against humans, not birds. The idea was to wipe out the emus, but let's be real, none of them expected the challenge they were about to face. This decision led them down a path that history would remember not quite as planned. The operation kicked off with optimism, but it quickly turned into something else entirely. Ever seen a bird outsmart soldiers? The emus turned out to be agile, fast, and surprisingly tactical. They scattered at the sound of gunfire, operating in a way that made targeting them nearly impossible. The soldiers struggled, not having anticipated their foes would be so elusive. Major Meredith and his men soon realized they were dealing with an opponent unlike anything else. When the dust settled, only a few hundred emus had been taken down, but the army had exhausted thousands of rounds of ammunition. The frustrating attempts to get the upper hand over these birds were turning out to be an exercise in futility. The emus, resilient to non-lethal hits, emerged mostly unscathed, while the soldiers were left baffled in this surreal encounter. With the emus pretty much shaking off the attack, the military effort was declared a flop. The government, accepting defeat, soon withdrew the troops. From this almost comedic operation, an alternative plan emerged. Instead of guns, farmers were offered bounties to curb the emu population. This bounty system proved more effective in dealing with the emus than the guns ever did. The Great Emu War, as it came to be known, wasn't really a war. Instead, it was an awkward chapter that showcased nature's surprising challenges. While the emus certainly had the last laugh, the lesson was learned: the struggle between man and nature isn't easily won by brute force alone. You gotta hand it to the press for not missing out on a juicy story. Media outlets had a field day, painting the failed campaign in a humorous light. The Great Emu War became a symbol of how plans can go hilariously wrong and why underestimating nature isn't a good idea. The emus, meanwhile, strutted away as victors, and this episode became a quirky slice of Aussie history. To this day, it serves as a reminder of the unintended antics that can arise when trying to impose human solutions on natural problems, earning its place in the annals of bizarre historical events. So, what's the takeaway from this feathered fiasco? Well, it's a testament to humanity's ongoing challenge in balancing with nature. It shows that adaptation, rather than aggression, is often a better path. This story is a mix of comedy, tragedy, and a dash of humility wrapped in one memorable saga. That's history for you. Unexpected turns and unforgettable lessons. Thanks for hanging out and taking a journey through this wild ride with me. If you enjoyed delving into this incredible story, tap that subscribe button for more amazing history stories every week. Let's uncover more tales together.